I'm here with Laura Hobbs, Dr. Laura Hobbs. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Get in there closer.
Okay.
Okay. Where are we? Okay, so how's the campaign going?
It's going really well. Thank you for asking. I just had a fundraiser on Saturday at the Happy Valley Community Center. A wonderful evening, good attendance, and good food.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we even had someone sing the national anthem. That was a surprise.
That's the way
blessing.
I'm all over that.
Yeah.
You know what? I can never figure out why the League of Women Voters don't do a pledge to allegiance, but that's their national charter. They don't do that. I wonder why that is.
That's
I always wondered that. Well, the reason that it came up was they got into a real one person wanted to use their time for it, and they said, oh, no, you can't do that, and this is my time. I mean, this is a couple of years ago. And I always wondered about that. It's, why don't you do that? I guess you don't have to, but it just seems like if you're having a debate, for our great republic here, that you have
we should have it. And in fact, they're going to have a debate on Wednesday. I want to mention that.
Yeah. Who's it going to be with?
It's going to be with the candidates for District 2, District 3, and District 4.
Okay.
And there may be somebody there who does
Is it League of Women Voters? Or is it?
Yeah, League of Women Voters.
Oh, well, we'll see. Tell people who you are.
Okay.
Dr. Laura Hobbs.
My name is Laura Hobbs. I'm running for Supervisor in District 2. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I got my PhD in microbiology over 10 years ago. And I'm just a regular citizen who's fed up with the state of affairs in our country right now. I feel like the 2020 election was stolen. And our country, ever since that time, has really gone downhill quickly. We all are aware of the Bidenomics that is occurring. And there's not really too much we can do about it in D.C. or in Sacramento. I feel like the place where this has to be resolved is here at the local level. That's where we have the most power to change our circumstances. So that's why I won the election.
Of course, there's a big election explosion when the Board of Supervisors wanted to go to a hand vote, and the state of California said, nope, you can't do a hand vote. So we have election machines now, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure it's not...
Hardin or Civic.
Okay. So that's what we're going to use, it appears.
Yeah, they did vote to end the Dominion contract,
right.
and their intention behind that was to not have any voting machines when they made that vote. However, they did not make it a local ordinance to say we will only hand count in Shasta County. So that is something that I think we can and should do, is to say we're only going to hand count.
It's for local elections.
Well, for local, national, for everything.
Oh, for everything.
We're only going to hand count in Shasta County. We're going to do it at the precincts, and we're going to use the paper poll books, which is because the voter rolls is where we get a lot of the fraud, and a lot of the problem is our voter rolls are not clean.
Well, I see that all over the country. And then when they do go out and clean them, they're finding thousands and thousands. I mean, just look this up. I mean, you can see that a lot of times. And it's not because people are trying to cheat. What it is let's just take Chico. You have so many students go through there that register to vote. Hooray for them. And then when they move from there, they just don't say anything. And then they register in another place, which they're supposed to send things. They're supposed to be all type, but a lot of times that doesn't help. Yeah. So, people have been dead for years, and so just clearing it. And even though the counties try to keep track of it, there's still, you can't help but think across America there's got to be hundreds of thousands of people that are still registered that are either dead, moved, whatever.
Yeah, some of it is definitely just negligence. There's also a statewide coordinated thing that's going on. Some of you were able to see Dr. Frank when he was here in town, and he talked about how the voter rolls are being manipulated at a centralized location such as the state, because you see an increase in and a decrease that's coordinated through all 58 counties except for Modoc County. And the synchronization of those changes to the voter rolls, the up and then the down, could only be caused by a centralized control.
Why not Modoc County? Because there's only 10
so
people.
Small.
Because there's only 10 people and 100,000 cattle live there.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a tendency to be cynical here.
Okay.
So when they're scrubbed, they have to be scrubbed by law they have to be scrubbed what? Every 3 years, 4 years, what?
If they miss 2 general presidential elections, then by law they have to be removed.
Okay.
But what we're seeing that up and down, if you look into it, there's a gentleman by the name of David Robb out of San Joaquin County, and he calls it vote churning, because what happens is overall the voter rolls stay the same, but there's huge decreases and then huge increases. So you have this up and down that goes on, but the average stays about the same. And it's not until you actually start looking at it, doing different time points, that you can see there's this churning that goes on behind the scenes.
So if the voter rolls stay the same, but there's huge ups and downs, so it would go up a lot and then down a lot, but it stays the same number.
For the most, the same, and not exactly. And one thing that Dr. Frank points out is that the voter rolls are increasing beyond the general population growth trend. Oh,
okay.
So there is a slight increase overall.
So how many voters do we have in Shasta County?
I believe it's 112.
Out of 100,000,
but they don't.
Out of 189,000 people here, 112,000 people are registered.
Registered, yeah.
Are registered, but out of that, what? Depending on what the election is, 50-60% vote.
Well, there was 96. I think around 96,000 for the last Trump election in 2020.
A lot of people came out. For the presidential elections, a lot more come out than just, say, the local elections.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot of people. Okay, we're here with Dr. Laura Hobbs, and we're going to take a quick break here. This portion of the show brought to you by Maxwell Insurance and Financial. 2 different offices under the same roof. All your insurance and financial needs under the Maxwell Insurance and Financial name. Judy's been helping people, veterans, seniors, business owners, families since 1993. With all the craziness going on with the insurance companies and the economy, as we've talked about, maybe you need time for a free review and evaluation of your insurance and your retirement plans. How about your 401ks? If you think you'd like to do that with some very, very competent people, give them a call at 530-221-0441. Maxwell Insurance and Financial, located at 1378 Hilltop Drive, right next to Members First Credit Union. We'll be right back. I am here with Dr. Laura Hobbs, and she's running for District 2. Oh, sorry, District...
That's right, District 2.
Oh, District 2. I was right. I get my districts mixed up ever since they threw me out of my district that I was in for 15 years. So, and some of the things she wants to do is make sure we have fair elections, transparent governance, no lockdowns or vaccine mandates. I think we're past that, though. Don't you?
Well, I hope so, but I still think it's important for us to make a statement there, because it shows folks how we feel about it and that we wouldn't do it again. You know, when it came before the board last year, Tim Garman says, well, it depends on how bad the virus is. If it's even more deadly, we might have to reconsider everything, doing everything over again, basically. So we're over that. Yes, I agree. But it's still something we have to consider, because they're bioengineering new viruses every day.
Well, here's my fear, is that we get something like the Spanish flu, even though Spanish flu is not the Spanish flu, but the Spanish flu. And it killed so many people. And we get one of those, but people don't trust the government anymore.
Yeah, they've lost their trust.
They've lost their trust over what happened with COVID.
Exactly.
And and there was a lot of reasons to lose your trust, but we get hit with a terrible, terrible, whether it's bioengineered or whatever it is, and people are really sick and people are really dying. But then the rules change, right?
Yeah, since they've already used the fear card, it's going to be really difficult to get people
you're
afraid.
A microbiologist. You know that. There could be things out there. So, but I understand what you're saying is, fool me once.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, how are you going to transform business in Shasta County?
Okay. Well,
that's one of the things you want to do.
Yeah, one of the ways that we can revitalize businesses is to reduce or eliminate county fees. For instance, the impact fees.
Which they just voted to do.
Which they just voted to do for the new growth. But there's other areas that we may be able to reduce. We have to reevaluate the 2008 Nexus predicted growth, which didn't happen, and that's how they base their fee structure for everything, not just for the new growth, but also for the things like putting a new roof on your home and upgrading your HVAC and all that stuff.
I think they said it was supposed to be $235,000 by the end of by 2030. It doesn't look like we're going to make that. Just talking to the EDC, they don't see that happening.
Yeah, no, they estimated between 2008 and 2030 that we would grow by 90,000 people. So far, we've only grown by about 3,600 people.
We need more people.
Yeah.
We need, just for business. And, okay, so fees, that's one way of doing it. What are some other things?
Another thing is that we need to really take control over the problems of homelessness, public camping. People shouldn't have to step over homeless people in order to enter their place of business. I spoke to a lady the other day that she's a small business owner, and she pulled up to her office, and there was somebody sleeping there right in front of her front door. And she decided instead of confronting the person or calling the RPD, she would just sit there and wait until they woke up and got their day started. So this is a real problem. We need to look at the rights of the citizens, the law-abiding citizens who have a right to go to work and be able to work and promote their business. And
but most of those are city problems, aren't they?
A lot of them are city. Some of them are county.
Yeah.
So it depends if it's in the unincorporated areas or within the city limits.
Yeah. Well, within the city limits, you have most of them, just because that's where the services are and all that. Mm-hmm. So my camping out in Shingletown isn't. I don't think they have a real problem up there.
Well, it's interesting. Happy Valley, they have a citizen patrol. So when they find somebody who's camping in a public area, it's the unincorporated area of Shasta County, they go and tell them to move on, to collect their stuff, and if they don't, then they just remove the camp themselves. So that's something, we're kind of at that point, unfortunately, when sometimes the citizens themselves have more authority to resolve the situation because they don't always get the assistance they need. In the case of unincorporated, it would be from the sheriff. In the case locally here within the city limits, it would be the RPD. And I'm not blaming the rank and file at all. I support them 100%. I think it's probably something that's coming from the top down. They need to be given orders and to know how to approach these situations and how to handle them.
Well, I would think with the Board of Supervisors we have now, it would be pretty clear how they want to handle it.
Yeah. So I think we need to investigate what's going on. Why are these laws that are already on the books not being enforced?
Okay. Now, one of the things you wanted to do was an external forensic countywide audit. Mm-hmm. I've heard that for years now from everybody that's in there now.
Yeah.
And I don't see one. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could have started one this year, wouldn't you think?
Yeah,
so why do you think they haven't?
I'm not exactly sure why. I feel like this board has accomplished a lot in the last year.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing things like that, but but that was one of the things they all wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Was this forensic audit to find out where all the money is, how much money's being spent by everybody. Mm-hmm. Where did that $200,000 go and all that? But it hasn't been done yet.
I can't really tell you. I can't speak for them, but I can speak for myself as a citizen because I oftentimes see things come before the board. Like recently, there was a $7.5 million expenditure for over 3 years for a contractor out of Riverside. It was Vista Pacifica Enterprises. And, they went ahead and approved it. They didn't really give it a harsh questioning. I said, how many people are being served by this? And they said, 16 to 18 people. And then I said, 16 to 18 people per month.
Was it a drug or something rehabilitation?
Yes, it was some locked facility where you could go get
inpatient.
Yes,
okay, got it. Because I was not familiar with it.
Psych care and all that.
I didn't mean to break in. So
that's okay.
You asked.
So I asked that, and then I looked in the Vista Pacifica Enterprises, and you can see online how much of their money goes towards overhead. Well, not how much of the money, but you can see how many employees are higher level management and how many are actual employees, and over half were the higher level management. So it seems like we have a habit of supporting places where a lot of the money actually goes to the top, to the, either in the NGOs or these private contractors, and not so much money goes to the bottom.
Was this a grant or something, or money provided by the state, or did that come out of our own funds?
That came out of our own funds, but it's over a 3-year period.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, that's about, if you break it down for 16 to 18 people over 3 years, $7.5 million, it's about $11,000 per month of the taxpayer money going to support these 16 to 18 people.
Per individual?
Per individual.
Okay, yeah, so it's 16 times 11.
Yeah, but they kind of just wrote it off and said, well, we only pay if the service is rendered, so it's not a guarantee that we're going to pay that amount. It's just up to that amount. But it's just those type of things where you really need to look into it. Each board of supervisor, and I, for myself, if I were on the board, I would take it upon myself to do that little bit of research that I did just as a citizen sitting there in the audience, and see, what are the services provided for this amount, and are we getting our money's worth? Is this money going to, to NGOs where it's paying these high-level executive salaries and not actually to services for our county and for our citizens?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we always used to do. I'm here with Dr. Laura Hobbs, and we're going over the things that she would like to accomplish. We talked about that audit. Do you believe in zero-based budgets, where everybody starts at zero every year and has to prove what they need?
I think that'd be a great idea.
I think that's a good idea. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just getting 7% more.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's money being wasted at the county?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now we don't know the full extent of it, but that's what a forensic audit would enable you to look at, is each department individually and the efficiencies of that department. So
it doesn't mean corruption. That's not what you're talking about. You're just looking at the amount of money they're spending and
what we're getting out of it as a taxpayer. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But I also do think we need to drain the local swamp.
Okay. And what's that?
Well, we have corruption within our government, and we need to be aware of what's there. There are some serious allegations that have been made, and I think if we impaneled another grand jury to look at them and investigate, we could really start to whittle that down. Right now, the grand jury is overworked, and they have certain administrative duties that prevents them to taking on new cases. So
they can't do criminal cases,
yeah,
but they can do investigative cases of government.
Mm-hmm. And another area that is important is the county resource department, which does the permitting for, for instance, when Reverge Anselmo wanted to build a private chapel on his property, and he wasn't allowed to. And the Exodus Farms here, I don't know if your listeners are aware, but there's a place, it's a horse farm.
Exodus Farms is it's a church, but it's also a place where kids that have been put in foster care come out and ride horses. I've been out there several times. It's a wonderful asset to our community. So I'll just tell everybody there I'm a supporter of Exodus Farms. And what's going on with them?
Yeah, they have equine therapy, which is very helpful for children that have been abused and in bad situations in their life. They're having a really hard time with the county resource department. They've been trying since 2014, 10 years, to get a permit. And they have certain, it seems like the goalposts keep shifting on them. the county wants them to do this, and then they do that, and then the county wants them to do something else. And it just, at this point, it just looks like retaliation against them because they have different political beliefs.
You know what? I think they should be I think it should be looked at, but I know also the state is one of the main obstacles to Exodus Farms too. And I know they're fighting the fight out there. You know, they built a bathroom. Nobody else has to build bathrooms, but they built bathrooms out there and all these things. And it is a wonderful facility. And I know the people that run it, and they're stand-up people. But, yeah, I think that somebody should look at how can we get them the permits they need. They built another road out there, you know, so they could have it in and out.
And they keep trying to satisfy the requirements one after the other. They're even going to tear down a perfectly functional barn. In order
they have
to
out there?
Yeah, not the big one, but the smaller one where they keep their tools and.
Yeah. Because it's not permitted or.
Yeah, because of certain permitting regulations, and it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? To go after somebody. At that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Reversion Somo took delight in poking in the county, and it was so many things he was trying to do that were beneficial to our county, and he had his time frame, county had theirs, and it was a mess.
Yep.
So
I think that we really need to look at that when we're looking at our local government and possible corruption. There's certain things, you know, one of the things I say on my campaign flyer is the people of this county do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. And I think that we need to look at each governmental department within the county and to make sure they're not just using excessive power against the citizens. And that also ties back into the impact fees and things of that nature.
Where does the money come? They've suspended the impact fees. So where does the money come from that takes the place of those millions of dollars?
You know, it's not actually as much money as you would think for the county because they can't use it. They can't directly fund any department with it. They can backfill with it if they want.
But they can build jails with it. Right? I think that's one of the things they can do.
Yeah. So I don't think it is as much money as you would think.
Well, $2.8 million is pretty big to me.
Yeah. But the figure we were talking about, $7.5 million, just passed through without even a blink of an eye. Well, so you have to put it in perspective.
Yeah. Well, but where does that money come from, though? That even if it's $2 million, where does that $2 million come from?
Well,
when they do that, I mean, I asked
it comes
Patrick
from the
Jones
taxpayers.
That. Yeah, it does come from the taxpayers, and what Patrick Jones said is because it will bring in the new business and more building that you get it on the other end. Yep,
that's right. With the increased tax revenue for property that has structures and buildings. You're you know, the bottom line is that if you own property, you should be able to build on it if you want to. You shouldn't have to go to neighboring counties to build. Because it's going to save you $20,000 if you build in Tehama or build in Modoc County or something.
There's a lawsuit up in front of the Supreme Court right now from California.
Yep.
You saw that.
I did.
$23,000 for permits to put up a manufactured home on his own property.
That was in El Dorado County.
Yeah, Supreme Court's looking at that right now.
So anytime that you have a fee that's not commensurate with the services rendered, it can be considered a tax. And I don't want any taxes in this county that are not rightful. And I don't want any new taxes either. So I think we need to really look at what we're paying and what we're getting for
living within our means.
And living within our means, yeah.
Richard, good morning.
Good morning. I have a comment and then a question for Miss Hobbs. Mrs. Hobbs. So the budget cycle's coming up pretty soon. We have in my opinion, a way overbloated public health department. 1,100 employees, $330 million. The state budget's going to be requiring some pretty decent cuts probably this year. My question is, I called for the Board of Supervisors now, and my question is, does Dr. Laura Hobbs agree? I call for our Board of Supervisors to have a very thorough public health detailed departmental report to the board this year, which also includes not just how many patients that they serve under each program, but also how many visits. Of course, we're not going to release names, but how many separate patients and how many visits per patient per program? Because I think we have way too much redundancy, bloat, everything else. And if we get patient information and visits and stuff, I think we're going to see that we are way overpaying for public health. And Dr. Laura, do you agree with that? And I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
Thank you.
I absolutely agree with that, Rich. Thank you for bringing in the stats and the data there, because we need to look at this. This is our biggest expenditure for the county, and it needs to be examined and with a fine-tooth comb, like you're saying, at the level of how many patients were served. We deserve to know this information.
Well, I think that goes for everything. Bureaucracies have a tendency to bloat up because they just keep getting money. They don't have to worry about their bottom line. I would hope that that's one of the things you're talking about, that taking a look at what everybody's spending and what are we getting for our money. I know where every dollar goes in this business. Mm-hmm. And, as do every business owner. And we need to know that we're getting, if I'm paying this money, what am I getting from that? Mm-hmm. And that's one of I think the biggest jobs an elected official has to do. Exactly. In my opinion.
I couldn't agree more.
Doesn't count worth a cup of spit. So, yeah. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with Dr. Laura Hobbs. And I'm here with Dr. Laura Hobbs, who's running for 2nd District Supervisor. It's a 4-person race, and everyone has been on once except one. And I'm trying to drag him in here. I shouldn't say drag. I'm trying to set the right time so everybody can make it here. And Laura has made it pretty clear what she stands for. You don't have to, and I think that's so important that you make it real clear so then people later on don't go, well, I didn't know she was going to do that. Mm-hmm. Everything that you have published, Laura Hobbs, says exactly what you're going to do if elected.
Exactly. And you can visit my website, votelaurahobbs.com, LauraHobbs. I'm not afraid or intimidated to say how I feel and how I believe. I stand by my convictions, and that's what's going to guide me. So I'm not hiding anything from anybody. I'll answer questions straightforwardly, right off the top. I'm not going to hold anything back.
SB2. Let's go SB2 because the Second Amendment's important to the northern state, mm-hmm. and especially in Shasta County. The sheriff's made it real clear what he thinks of the part that's been there's a stay put on it in court. I think the DA feels the same way. Maybe he hasn't been as emphatic, in print as the sheriff has, but she's a constitutional type person too. Mm-hmm. What happens? But there's parts of it that are still out there, like having to put a sign up in your business that says you welcome Second Amendment supporters. What do you think of that?
I think that's pretty ridiculous. I think everybody who has, everyone should be able to carry a weapon if they so choose. That's what the Second Amendment guarantees in our Constitution. We have the right to keep and bear arms, and we don't need the state to tell us it's okay. We don't need to wait for permission from the state to tell us it's okay. It's already within our rights to keep and bear arms.
The SB2 kind of like makes it so it's impossible. I can't help but think it's going to be struck down by the Supreme Court, and you've got to, and the Supreme Court could be specific enough so we never have to worry about this again. Mm-hmm. But so they put together something they're sending to the state saying they don't support SB2. Mm-hmm. I think the Board of Supervisors are.
Yeah, I applaud what the Board of Supervisors have done of recent, where they put an ordinance forth saying that you're allowed to carry on county property. Mm-hmm. And I think what they have done is to say, hey, we basically, it's when we said our oath of office, we committed to the Constitution
Defend
of the U.S.,
support.
of California. And so to do otherwise would be violating their oath of office. And I think they did the right thing when they passed this a couple of weeks ago.
And the United States Constitution overrides the California Constitution.
Absolutely.
If I understand this right.
Mm-hmm.
The Fountain Wind Project is still around.
Yeah, that's a huge
when
problem.
do you think that that's going to be heard? Have you heard anything? I mean, the final. I know they're coming up and they're getting comments from people. When do you think that's going to hit?
You know,
I
did listen to the whole...
I know where you stand on it, but you can tell people where you stand on it.
I think we need to fight against those strongly. The county has already said twice that they don't want windmills in this county. They even made an ordinance saying they were not allowed. They're illegal. The state went ahead and came up with some laws. AB 205 is one of them, saying that, well, we're going to let the California Energy Commission decide whether or not it's okay. Right now, there's a lawsuit out against them, filed by the county and also by the Pitt River Tribe, I believe, saying that, you know, we don't want these windmills here. The problem is that it's not just up there where they want them. They want them all. They want them in Bali. They want them in McLeod. It's not just Round Mountain that they want to have them. And they will take over our entire county. They're monstrosities. We don't need them. We don't want them. They're 600 feet high. The tallest building here is the courthouse, which is 100 feet high, the new courthouse that they built. And so imagine 600 feet high. You can't fly over them. They create their own wind patterns. So you can't fight fires with helicopters like you usually do when you put the fire retardant on or water or whatever it may be. So it's a fire hazard. I've seen them spontaneously combust. They're full of petrochemicals in order to lubricate the turbines. It's not green energy. It's a hoax, and we don't need it here.
Here's a question coming in from our chat room. What about the current mental health problems we have right here in Redding? Do you see a solution to this? I mean, you're against spending this $7.5 million pass-through money or whatever it is, but we do have a mental health problems here. Would you agree to that? I
would agree with that, and I've heard that we don't have any mental health for juveniles that need assistance. If they're suicidal or whatnot, they have to go to a facility which is hours away from here. Instead of being here locally where their families can come and help them and support them. So that's one area we could certainly improve upon. The other issues is there are certain programs available, such as the New Life Discovery, which is a non-denominational faith-based organization, and they do help people. However, they have to abide by the rules outlined. They have to be wanting help, and they have to do certain things. They have